You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rebus, aka Shut Trap. Joining me as always, halfway across the world, Jared Morgan.
Hello. Had to do it slowly because you did it super fast.
It's super fast. Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah.
So last week we tried doing the audio live while recording, and Jared mentioned how it sounded very
lossy at the
lossy.
end.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounded like 96 kilobits a second. Like, yeah. When I was listening back to it.
And that's on top of the fact that it took us a little while to get it set up for some reason. I don't know.
About 15 minutes, to be honest.
so today, I go and I set everything up back up the way that I figured it was going, and it was either Jared could hear me talk or Jared couldn't hear me talk. But no matter what, I don't think that any of you folks would have been able to hear me talk because the little meter wasn't bouncing at all, and I have no clue why it was doing that, and it's just frustrating to no end. So that's why we're not having any live audio drop this week.
But
well, yeah, potentially. So now I'm looking into because basically the major problem is Google Hangouts is going away, and this is what we use to record our podcast in.
Yeah,
and it's going away to the point that, like right now, if you went to make a video on YouTube, they have a
quick option.
Where there's the quick option, which is going to become the standard option, and then there's going back to the classic option. If I go to the quick option, or which is what they're calling it, Creator Studio Beta, I think.
Oh yeah, the new one.
Yeah, and I go and I click live video, it immediately wants to
ask for your OBS credentials.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wants a third-party thing. There's no way of selecting Google Hangouts. So I have to go back into Creator Studio Classic and then select Google Hangouts. So that's what I'm saying. It's going away because as soon as YouTube gets this worked out, bye-bye. So
we're really trying to get ahead of the curve here because it's like streamers who have got this set up already. There's plenty of them out there. OBS isn't like a obscure platform.
No, not at all.
Use it. It's very popular actually, and what people can do with it is amazing. But to get an amazing looking thing, you have to do quite a bit of work to get it there.
Well, the amazing thing is so I was practicing with OBS, and I had it to where I could I did some test broadcasts to YouTube in private so that nobody else could see it, and I was able to put me up with UBS. I was able to throw video up. Everything was great.
Oh, well, you got further than me. I tried doing it, and I could not work it out.
Oh, how to do it in OBS?
Yeah, couldn't work it out. I didn't have a lot of time to spend on it, but like probably if I had like a couple of hours or 3 to spend on it. How long did it take you to get working?
Probably inside of 45 minutes.
Okay. I must have been doing it wrong.
My main thing was trying to get my audio again proper, because at first, when I first recorded, it was echoing. And that was really kind of odd. So I had to turn off some things, or shut it. I think it was trying to read my webcam at the same time as reading my microphone. So it was like 2 microphones going at it,
battling each other, right?
Yeah, and so I finally got that addressed, and then I was able to pretty quickly figure out the video, drop a video in. Okay, I got that. Then it became, okay, how do I get Jared into this?
Because it's like OBS is great for streamers because it's usually only them. Yeah. And they're doing it like they're videoing a pinball machine while they're playing it. It's them. They've got their own laptop. It's fine.
And if I had 4 other cameras all connected to this computer, still piece of cake. Easy. Yeah. Switching is not a problem.
No worries at all. It does multi-camera without a problem. And there's plenty of guys to set that up. But when you actually try and video conference someone in, good luck with that. There is no happy path to get that working in OBS. Like there's plenty of solutions out there for, just use Skype. Skype's got this thing that allows you to do this piece of technology that allows you to read in the stream, etc. Sure. Like, I mean, if I have to, I'll go and get Skype, but I hate Skype. But that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get there's this other video service which is free called appear.in, and I've used it heaps for work, and it's quite good. But I was trying to get that web feed to get sucked into the OBS, and that's where I just went, I declare bankruptcy. I have no idea how this works.
Yeah.
Like, it is so hard.
Well, not only that, but you're dealing with also isolating which, because it's gonna all those things they want to show your camera and they want to show the person that you're talking to. And if you just did a screen share of whatever your image is, well, that's all gonna be there. And that's not gonna look right for streaming, purposes of what we do on this show. And so then it's like, well, how do you isolate just that one window of the person? So I'm like sitting there doing things. I find one program, I'm reading about it. It like looks genius. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what we want. $19 a month.
A month?
A month.
Oh, jeez.
And I went, but it was perfect. It was like everything. And then there was another one. There was another one that was, it wasn't monthly, but you want the services that are $450 for the entire program. So I'm like, okay, back to straight to the torrents. So then I'm looking about OBS and how to stream, and everybody's saying, just use Skype. Just use Skype. They've made it super easy. They've got this new thing called NDI. It's not even Skype's thing. It's somebody else's third-party thing. But anyway, it'll isolate the caller's window. And so you can cut and swap back and forth just like you want to be doing. And you can have up to 4 people calling in. And I'm like, this is what we need. And I'm watching YouTube videos on how to set it all up. And I'm following every step. Boom, boom, yep, doing this setting, just clicking that setting, boom, all the way up until the point where I select where the video source is, and I do it, and nothing pops up in my window but a little tiny red square that I'm assuming you're supposed to expand, and I did expand it eventually, and still no video, and it's just driving me bonkers. Because, again, it's one of those things that I know it's just a stupid little thing setting somewhere.
It's probably a checkbox. It's probably literally a checkbox somewhere in the interface that you need to click. And it'll be working. But
of course, then we have to deal with the fact that then, because my camera is recording me, it can't communicate with Skype, so Jared won't see whatever I'm doing. He also won't see any video that pops up that would be going out to YouTube, in which case I'd then have to probably do a screen share of my screen so he could watch. It all becomes just such a mess.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I tried, and I think because I didn't have nearly anything set up correctly, was to actually go in and like essentially start up a Google Hangout session and then record that. So essentially OBS, its only job is to record the video session with the 2 people coming into it. And then that then gets streamed up to YouTube. So that was the way I was trying to approach it. But I think because I was actually... Again, I hadn't set it up properly, and I need to. If I was going to do that, I need to go back and do some testing. But all I wanted to do is just bring in the web page that's essentially Google Hangouts or whatever service it is, and then that is essentially the broadcast. But I couldn't get the frame rate right; it was choppy. So there is a way. I've read there are methods to actually fix that, but again, more research required. And in the short time I had to just play around with it, I just ran into more trouble than I could actually spend to diagnose what was going on.
And again, I don't mind, there's plenty of YouTube videos, and I'm following them step by step, but when they don't work, that's when the frustration hits.
Yeah, because then because it comes down, this is a problem that we have as technical writers, is that when you hit a roadblock, when you're writing docs, you can't predict what roadblocks everyone's going to hit based on their experience level.
Yes.
So when you're writing a tutorial or something like that, and tutorials, by the way, are one of the hardest things to write when you're a technical writer, because you need to be so focused on just the goal you're trying to achieve. And it takes a lot of testing to do them. And generally with community-based documentation like OBS, there aren't a lot of volunteer technical writers volunteering in there. There's certainly a passionate community that it's contributing to the docs, but writing tutorials is hard, man. So you follow a tutorial along, you get to the point, but the technical writer or the person volunteering for the docs doesn't quite know what your setup is. There's a few edge cases that they hadn't prepared for, and you end up getting a failure at the end of the tutorial where you should be getting some tangible outcome, like, hey, I've I've managed to get my webcam to display in bloody OBS, and I actually can hear broadcast.
Yeah.
So it's really tough, and it is frustrating. I agree with you.
Yep. Last week's frustration being the Williams Pinball app still has not come to iOS, so I still don't have that. But in the meantime, I keep on getting reports back from Android users, and things have slightly changed here and there.
Right.
Things aren't looking quite as dire as they were. I think I've kind of figured out maybe what's going on too.
Right.
So
Okay.
because and again, talking about where people are coming from, when people were complaining to me about what was going on in Android, I was just trying to get the basics of what still existed. And that was, look, folks, do we still have the 4 challenges? Took a while to get that answer.
Right, yeah.
Which was, yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now there's this new other challenge. Okay. When you're playing the 4 basic challenges, are you still earning table parts? Yes, just not for the 3 new tables. Okay, right. Got that, understand. If you've maxed out your table parts and upgraded fully, are you now earning coins like we were in the last iteration? Yes, that is a factor too. Okay, so there we go. So if you've already maxed out your tables, which was the 10 tables.
Yes.
And you play those daily challenges, now you're just going to be earning coins.
Okay, well, that's okay. Yeah.
So there you go. So you got that. Oh, wait a second. Somebody just tweeted that Williams is now on iOS with free 50 free coins. There you go. See, as we're talking, things are getting tweeted. I checked earlier.
I checked in the forum before about 5:30 in the morning this morning because I got woken up by Skinner's alarm, and that's people saying yes, it just went out, but people were having trouble getting it. So it obviously hadn't propagated through all the regions,
right?
But it looks like it has now, and people are able to experience it live.
So I'll have to, after this podcast, I'll have to jump on it and figure out what's.
It'd be much better if we weren't recording a day earlier, but it's all my fault because it's Zachary's birthday tomorrow.
Things happen. So then I find out that so with these single challenges or this new challenge that got introduced, that you basically start off just playing Hurricane, I think it was. Or no, excuse me, you're only playing Whitewater, but you're only earning parts for Hurricane. Well, once you earn enough parts for Hurricane to get a certain star level, then a second challenge pops up. Now you're earning parts for Hurricane and Roadshow. Still not earning parts for Whitewater. So then my question was, well, once you get enough parts for Whitewater, are you going to get a third challenge? And in that third challenge, you'll be earning points for Hurricane. I don't know. This is where my question is. And what I'm realizing what they might be addressing with all this is what we were stating. Look, it's nearly impossible with 10 tables to earn the parts and get the upgrades.
To properly upgrade one, yeah.
What's going to happen when you're up to 20 tables? It's going to be...
This could be the solution.
And this could be the solution. They've isolated and broke it down so now these new tables are popping up with these, and then you're going to be able to do that. So... This is why I didn't want to rage on them yet, because I'm like, we don't know all the information.
Yeah.
And it might seem really backwards and impossible at the start, but then once you start seeing other things opening up and seeing actually what's going on and how to best approach the game, then you can, fully go forward from there. So
it sounds like you're on the money there. I mean, I don't play it on Android. It's just someone in the thread this morning really summed it up in one of the forum threads this morning, and I think if I just have it still in my backlog here, I think they really did sum it up. I don't know if I could see it. Oh yeah. So yeah. This user is Mad Science 2006, and he said it like this. He said, look, I'm not even downloading and installing this newest version until it's made known that the tables are available as a pack purchase. So that's another question that people are having as well, whether you can actually still buy the tables outright in a pack. Because, as we discussed before, people who don't want to actually participate in the freemium model, and Android might be their only platform, or iOS might be their only platform, They just want to buy the game so they can play it. He also goes on to add, he goes, I've already purchased the tables on the Mac version of Zen Pinball too, but I'm not grinding through, quote unquote, the mess that is to unlock the tables and features on mobile. I don't have the time nor patience. So, this person closes off to say, if Zen wants my money, I'm more than willing to shell it out just to buy the tables. Just let us buy the tables. So if they're taking that away, that's not catering for that side of the audience that doesn't want to participate in freemium, or doesn't want to have multiple purchases to buy coins to then upgrade the tables and like have 50 steps to actually just buy a table outright. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of me, but it's very close to how I feel about it. But that's okay, because I've fired it up on Steam last night and started playing it. It was great. So it just goes to show that the mobile version of this game isn't the platform for me, and that's fine. But for other people who don't necessarily want to pay or don't have the ability to pay at the moment, then it is what it is. And there's a saying that we have over here, I don't know if you have it over in America, is you get what you get and you don't get upset.
No, that's definitely not a phrase over here.
Yeah, you get what you get. It's what usually you get taught in kindergarten as a kid. It's like you get what you get. Like, here it is, and there's no point getting upset about it because that's what's there. This is what you're getting, and that's it. For example, if you get put dinner in front of you as a kid, and you go, "Oh, I don't like Brussels sprouts," you go, "Well, you get what you get, and you don't get upset. Eat it or don't. I don't care." Like, really, it's what it is. Play it or don't. Eat it or don't. So
yeah,
it's kind of it.
Yeah, and again, there's where it comes down to, I wonder, the data that Zen is looking at, what is it telling them about people that did purchase the tables during that 3 days that they were offered for the cheap price? How many of those purchased versus how many people are purchasing large amounts of coins and paying the accelerated rate?
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing that I think might be strategically important for them moving forward with their like commercial arcade cabinet product is actually getting people to come back to the app. And now there could be a question there that if you just buy the tables outright, you may not feel the drive to come back every day to do the grinding, to get the parts, to get ahead of the curve. And actually,
which is exactly what the point was that I was making. That while I was actively seeking parts, I was playing the game daily and putting my time in.
And getting the ad revenue as well.
Right. Once I fully upgraded, and in this case, once I fully upgraded plus got an additional 435 coins or whatever,
you went back to the same.
I just kind of went, okay, I'm I'm kind of burnt for now, and there's no point in me grinding much. I'm all prepared for the next pack, and when it's there, I'll have my fun collecting coins again. But otherwise,
I don't need to go there.
Exactly. So that's why that's what I was saying. To me, they had found a sweet spot in terms of getting me to play and getting me to come back to the app, because I truly believe this is what killed Farsight in so many respects.
Oh yeah,
that they couldn't get people to continually play the game.
Yeah.
After a certain point,
didn't have that strategy. Yeah.
No, after a certain point, you're just like, oh, I'll play the new table that came out.
Yeah.
And I'll play that for a little bit, and then I'm going to move on to something else again, rather than continuing to play this entirely massive catalog of games.
Oh, it was totally true. Like, I did it, particularly like, you get into the beta testing world with Farsight, the new pack comes out, you're testing them, you're playing to death. Well, usually when you're actually testing them, and then you're basically done with them by the time they come out, and there is no real reason to get back in there apart from tournaments, which weren't really that fun to play in anyhow, because there was just scores. There wasn't any competitive element to it. It was just, here is a score.
Right.
And people go, what are you talking about, Jared? That is a competitive element. It's a score. But the thing is, it wasn't real time enough. It was like, just push the score up and walk away. It was not like, hey, you're this close away from getting to the score. That sort of driving stuff. The in-game drive to actually get further in the game and keep there just wasn't there. They just didn't have a strategy to do it.
And again, when we talked about them many a time, but that's where the leaderboards failed them too, because when the game first came out, back when we had the 4 launch tables and what was it, Medieval Madness with Bride of Pinball, I think was the first pack that came out after that. Oh man, I was checking those leaderboard scores left and right. I was striving for them. I was, really trying to get ahead on many of them.
Oh yeah.
Once the leaderboards became broken and hacked and all
people
that
were doing ridiculously high
yeah,
scores.
when you find out that you got to spend 18 hours on a table in order to achieve that score, well, now you're just I'm done. That's no longer competitive to me, and I don't care what people say. Oh, well, you go for the weekly score. Yeah, the weekly score doesn't last. No.
No. You're right. There's no reason, which is why I keep on saying. I remember saying this over and over again, and I'm pretty sure you did too, Chris. It's like, reset the leaderboards, clear them out. It happens on site with an arcade machine. If you have it set after 1,000 plays, leaderboards get reset. Although, if you listen to the latest video that the pinball expert has released, he actually suggests that, to his credit, this particular episode was actually quite good. It was about operating pinball machines on location. And on this aspect, he's very experienced because this guy he's been in their business for 20 or 30 years.
Sure, if he's a pinball operator, he's got a whole different perspective.
Yeah, and it was actually a really good video. To his credit, there's some good information in there. And one of the things he did actually say is that don't reset the leaderboards when you're on site. He said reset the game leaderboards when you move it to a different location, but don't reset them when it's on site.
Okay.
But I think online is subtly different. Yes. Now, I know that when this subject was brought up at the time when we were going, I think we were actually mentioning almost doing a mini campaign on the podcast to get their leaderboards reset. And it's probably one of the most responded to episodes, actually, where people go, don't reset the leaderboards. I toiled for 18 hours to get the score. It's like, well, you can do it again, can't you? Well, isn't that the fun of it?
And that's even, I've read some things coming from Zen about changing or resetting leaderboards, and they're like, we're not doing that anymore because we got death threats.
What? Death threats? Seriously?
They did a leaderboard reset in FX2, I believe, because they found out that there was a cheat that people were able to do.
Right.
And so they patched the game that eliminated that cheat and then reset. And yeah, apparently people were very, very upset. Wow. So this goes into, with Williams Pinball, you might notice that the tournament settings for this latest pack are not as difficult, or I should say the ball doesn't move quite as fast as it had been moving when playing tournament. And basically they adjusted it, kind of slowed it down a little bit. I don't know if that's a changing of the rake of the table or not, but they'd made an adjustment to that effect. And they said, we're still not going to change the leaderboards because now the table is a little bit easier, so the leaderboards are still achievable. They said, the flip side is we can't increase the difficulty of tables because that does make the leaderboards unfair.
Unfair and unbalanced,
so they can balance it one way, they can't go back the other way.
Yeah, I remember us mentioning this in the last podcast too, and it's a good point to reiterate because, it's a tactic on their part which I think worked well. They're essentially giving themselves extra runway, if you like, to tweak game experience. So they're essentially defaulting to hard, essentially.
Right.
You can't go any harder than hard. So you can go backwards if people complain. So that's really good. That's a very, very smart way of doing it.
Okay, I don't know if you saw this, Jared. It popped up on my feed today in Facebook. Did you hear Pinball Arcade's latest news?
I've heard ruminations about something.
I'm just going to read directly off of their Facebook post. They didn't post it to Twitter. They only posted it to Facebook. And it is this. This is your last chance to purchase AC/DC Pinball before it's gone. Our license agreement to sell AC/DC Pinball will come to an end on June 30th. A year after the last June 30th threat. After this date, the AC/DC Pinball table will no longer be offered for sale within the Pinball Arcade or Stern Pinball Arcade. However, customers who have purchased the table prior to the deadline will continue to own the table and have access to it within the game. We will continue to support it as we do the other tables in our collection. This change will affect all of our devices and platforms. Currently, you can buy AC/DC and Stern Pack 1 will both be 50% off all the way through June 30th. Certain systems, this won't happen until June 10th, like the PS4 and the Switch. Everybody, and Xbox One, it just says TBT. Right. So there you go. Now, this is not an announcement that they are losing the Stern license.
No,
they are losing specifically AC/DC, which this comes down to. That's because they didn't purchase the license. Oculus did.
Oh, yes. That's right, because they're the ones who quickly withdrew the Kickstarter.
The Kickstarter, the Kickstarter that wasn't.
Yeah. Like the Kickstopper, as we'll call it.
Right. So I got to believe that Oculus basically was like, we've sold all the VR that we're going to sell with this. We're not going to renew their license. No. And Farsight was like, we're not paying that huge amount of money for the music license.
No.
Bye-bye, AC/DC.
Yeah, see you later. Don't let the door hit your bottom on the way out.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Well, okay. And then what happens with Star Trek? And what happens with Mustang?
Movie licenses are different than music licenses.
I see.
Music is, I mean, it's one of those things where you call into question if Zen got a hold of the Stern license, would they bother doing Metallica, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Kiss, Rolling Stones, Elvis? I mean, all of these are going to carry buku music licenses.
Yeah, for sure.
And, are they willing to? Stern wasn't even willing to carry the AC/DC music license. Which is why you're not going to see a Vault edition of AC/DC anytime soon, I think.
I think I thought they actually released a Vault of it.
They did do, I think it was a last gasp straw.
Like a rerun of just like Lucy, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they did that.
Kind of
that was
short,
it.
But Metallica's, they're not making Metallicas anymore.
No, they're off the line. It's basically
I don't think they're making Aerosmith anymore either. I think the only one currently available is Iron Maiden.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd imagine that they are very particular about how they license because they know how long it's going to take for them to run the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they can actually probably save a lot of money by only having a very short lease on the music. We only need it for a year. That's all we need it for. Just let us produce the table for a year, starting on this date, and we're done after a year. So, yeah, you could be right. So, isn't that crazy to think that movie licenses are easier to deal with than music licenses? Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, not so much easy, less costly. I won't say cheap because that's definitely not the case for movie licenses either, but less costly. Let's call it that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess music in and of itself tends to be of the moment.
Yes.
And, there's very few things that carry on over a long period of time. So it's I don't know. But I do want to just reiterate, this does not mean that Farsight is losing the Stern license.
No.
It's just they're losing the AC/DC license.
They're losing the licensed properties that allow them to continue to resell this individual table only.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and at least they gave fair warning.
They weren't under the same conditions as they were with Scientific Games. That's the thing. Like that they actually. Right. It's not so much it was a cease and desist, which essentially is what Scientific was.
Yeah.
It was more of a, hey, your license is expiring. Please get your affairs in order by this time.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
I did have to laugh, though, reading some of the comments that people were posting underneath. They're like, so does this mean you're going to fix the sound issues that are on AC/DC that you promised you'd fix months ago? that you're saying that you'll continue to support the table, but
yeah. So anything, Bueller? Yeah. Well, I haven't seen. I don't know. I must admit, I haven't really picked up Pinball Arcade for a very long time now, unfortunately. But I really haven't seen a lot of evidence in the forum, at least, that they're doing bug fixes or improvements in the game. Maybe that's incorrect. I'm happy to be corrected if that's the case. But
I've not heard anything of that nature either.
So yeah, continue to support and etc. Doesn't really carry a lot of weight for me with what they're announced there. So sorry about that.
Yeah, just bundles of good news.
Happy joy, happy
right?
joy. Yeah,
it was kind of funny. I was watching. You familiar with the show Black Mirror? Probably not, but you know of it.
I know of it. I haven't watched it.
So new season just dropped on Netflix. A whopping 3 episodes. And
wow.
I always laughed at that. It's like the new season, because here in America, if you say a season,
it's 12 episodes.
You mean a season, right?
Yeah.
But I know that in Britain, they say a new season. It could just mean, or they don't even say season. They just say series, a new series. And in the case of like Sherlock, there was a series where it was 1 episode. It's like, wow, so generous.
Yeah.
But anyway, they did an episode. They're one of these Black Mirror episodes. It stars Miley Cyrus as a pop star who basically doesn't want to be singing the pop star things that she got famous for. She wants to grow as an artist, if you will.
Yeah.
But what they did for the pop songs that she's singing, it's great. They did reworkings of 2 different Nine Inch Nails songs.
Oh, did they?
And so the one that you hear the most, you'll hear it and you're like, why does that sound so familiar? Because they basically took Head Like a Hole and they changed the lyrics. And it's now I'm on a roll.
Oh.
And it's all upbeat, positive messaging, in the lyrics. Some of the lyrics are the same, but some of the lyrics have changed.
Right.
And I forget what the other Nine Inch Nails song was. It's a more recent one, but they had the full support of Trent Reznor for this.
Really?
He thought it was flattering that they were doing this, and was like, "Yep, you have my permission to alter,
go for it."
To go for it." To the point that if you go to Nine Inch Nails' website, they're selling Black Mirror T-shirts with the alternate lyrics printed in like bubbly lettering. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
That's cool. The fact that they're 100% behind it. I mean, why wouldn't you be as an artist? It's only going to benefit you. Like the fact that people will spread the news that this is a Nine Inch Nails song. If you perhaps like the music, you'll go and look at the back catalog and perhaps become a fan. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? It's great business.
Especially for a song that came out in 1989.
Yeah, exactly.
You've pretty much,
but
earned the money that you're gonna. Yeah, you've earned the money that you're going to earn off of that.
Yeah, well, good on him for that, and good on him for getting behind it. I think that's great.
I figured I'd mention that with all the licensing music that we just covered.
Yeah. It's definitely timely.
Definitely timely.
So, what else? Is there anything else? What is it? What is the time? 8:48 here. So we're about 10 minutes away from a regular show. Yeah.
from a shorter show, we started a little bit late.
This is true. It's probably only about 30 minutes, really.
We're not that far in, but I'm not opposed to giving a shorter version. I will say this. Remember this cabinet? Last time you saw it, it was flipped open because I was fixing the accelerometer. It worked. It needs to be laid flat. I put it flat. I did a nudge to the right, did a nudge to the left, and sure enough, table nudge right, nudge left. I did nudge up. It did. I need to adjust the sensitivity because right now I have to really give it a hard shove. And I don't want to have to do that. I want to be a little more subtle. But the cool thing is I can give it a hard shove and I'm not getting the warning from Zen.
Yeah.
Like if you did a full stick shove. So I got to find the sweet spot, but at least now it's functioning and working the way it should.
There you go. You'll have to add that to the build specs for the cabinet when you go into production.
One of these times I'm actually going to finish off the final article that I need to finish it off with that should have been done months ago, but
things and stuff.
Those
are what have I been doing this week? Not really playing a lot of physical pinball. I've just been This seems to be the story of my life. So busy at the moment. I've not even switched on Star Race. Although the strange thing with Star Race the last time I played it is the weird boot up issues that I was having disappeared. Bye-bye. No problem
anymore. That's what you do. You just got to wait long enough, and then it'll fix itself.
It's the Chris Freever's how to fix a pinball method. Just leave it and let it fix itself.
The gremlins will have gotten bored of tearing it apart, and then they're like, well, let's put it back together again.
I was like, well, no one's frustrated with this thing. I guess we move on to something else that we need to futz with and break for somebody. They just jump out and leave. I mean, the door's open. They don't need a key or anything. They just jump out.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy, but I mean, it's coming up into. Oh, so I found out a little bit more information about the massive pinball event we're having in August at the exhibition, the ECA. It sounds like surprisingly, the amount of tables that they're getting offered to put on the floor there are actually a lot of classics. So a lot of the 80s and like even some late 70s solid states, early 80s, and into the early 90s tables. There's not a lot of DMDs or moderns going into being offered up for sale, which I guess if you think about it, probably makes sense because they're, number one, the more sought after tables that people want to buy. And also they're more popular. You probably don't want to put them on site as much because they might get a bit trashed, particularly at the exhibition where you're going to have kids and stuff climbing on them and generally being pests. So, so I found out from Jimmy at Netherworld that he goes, have you contacted Mr. Lambo yet, who's also co-organizing? Because he goes, we're getting quite a few classics in the mix, so you might just want to put your name down officially that you're going to be putting Star Race into it, because we might have to be cutting some. We've actually got that many. I went, oh, okay, yeah, I don't want that. After all the work I've done to prepare it for the show, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we don't need it anymore. Thanks.
You're all mine will be out in the parking lot.
I'll just put it out there, and I'll just put it on, coin drop. It'll just be under a tent.
Yeah, put a little pop-up tent over it, and ta-da.
Yeah, exactly.
You got Jenny next to it to power it up.
Yeah,
that's my rumble motor.
Yeah, that's right. I'll just turn the volume up on the game. It's surprisingly loud, like even with because it used to run on. It used to have 2 speakers in it, but they were like 1980s paper cone speakers, right? Not very good quality, but I've got one in there at the moment with it's one of those ceiling mount speakers that's about 8-inch, and it's got the little tweeter mini speaker in the cone as well. You crank that thing up, you don't need 2 speakers. It's loud as. So yeah, I don't have a problem with the volume on it.
I got a question for you, because it's on. As we're winding down, what tables Zen's going to do for the Williams collection here, and as we start thinking about what's coming up, I keep on seeing once again the requests for Mouse and Bad Cats.
And
so here's my question: how much do you want to bet that people remember the back glass for Bad Cats, but actually rather enjoyed playing Mousing Around, and they just kind of merge the two together?
Yeah,
because
maybe if they made a remake table of that called Cats and Mouse and merge the theme, it'd actually be the best thing ever.
Because as has been pointed out, Bad Cats
has a pretty terrible playfield.
It's a terrible tournament table. Absolutely terrible tournament table. Nobody would ever put that thing on as tournament because it's so exploitable.
Yeah.
And it is also kind of a one ramp table.
It's a broader pinball. Yeah.
As opposed
there's pretty much only one ramp on it, isn't there?
Yes. So. It's also a single ball table. So no multi-ball. And bad tournament setups. It's just kind of like, I don't know, as opposed to Mousing Around, which has a couple of ramps, has multi-ball, in general is a more fun machine as far as I'm concerned. But I did bring up this question. Would Zen even bother?
Well, look, if they were desperate, maybe. But
because are they going to make Millionaire? Highly unlikely.
Probably not. No,
I mean nobody talks about Millionaire, but it's a System 11.
No, they'd be looking for, like, they'd be going to the Pinside Top 100 and going to the System 11 section and then going from top to bottom, I would think.
I have a problem with I don't like let's just go to the Pinside 100 because you know what? I don't agree with the list. I don't agree with the list. There's a difference between what playing a table when you're pumping quarters into it versus when it was sitting in your home and you have it on free play. That's why Twilight Zone is such a monster on that list, because once people had it in their home, then they were able to explore it. But if you talk to people that played it out in the wild, they hated Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it wasn't a good location game until like early on when it was like first release. Yeah, it was a tough sell.
Yeah.
Like you saw the experienced players going up to it, but it wasn't easy to get into as a novice player.
Yeah.
I mean, I did anyhow because I was crazy and I love pinball that much that I just pumped way too many dollars into it anyhow to try and learn it. But for the player today, it's a very different scenario, right?
I don't know. I see the Pinside 100 as kind of being like the AFI, top 100 films list, where most of the films you go, nobody wants to watch that. Now that's not that I'm saying that nobody wants to play these machines, but I think there's way too much stock put into them versus some of the enjoyment that can be had out of many of these.
I wonder if they should do it based on actual game sales. Like how many operators actually purchased the game? What would be a better way to actually rank tables for Zen to actually include in the game? What metric would you use to actually determine it if it wasn't for Pinside?
I think in terms of Zen, it's going to come down to, well, what can you do to enhance this table?
Oh yeah.
Is it going to work with all of your score boosters when you're just in regular Zen play?
Yeah.
How are the enhancements going to come? What are you going to do to this to make it look like it's more than
just
than what it is?
System 11 table. And we've already seen some of that stuff creeping in to the collection with things like Safecracker,
right?
Which they don't have a skill shot one, and they don't have, what's the other one they don't have? I forget off the top of my head, but there's like a couple that are just grayed out because you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you don't want to introduce too many of those in there because it makes it then hard to match them up for tournament play. And looking forward again with the commercial reality of what they're doing, you don't want that on location either, do you? Because that makes it hard to actually configure. It adds extra layers of configuration you need to do when the AI is selecting what table to put on location. So, yeah, again, not good from their perspective.
Yeah, I think that it just kind of needs to come down to what's fun, what can you do enhancements on, and because again, if you go too hardcore on the table, you got to remember there's a huge the Williams players, the Pinball Arcade players, we are the ones that are new to Zen. Even though I'd been collecting Zen tables all along, we are considered the new players to the Zen atmosphere ecosystem. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Where essentially a lot of people will think, oh, they're just bolt-on players. They've been added in. This is like a new thing that Zen's doing. This is not core fantasy table. Like my own creation table stuff. This is just real tables.
Zen has to cater to their original audience first.
Yes.
And this new secondary audience later.
Yeah.
And I think so far they've been doing a fine job of that.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's like, you're going to reach a certain point with the System 11s, and as there's a thread that we produced. Here's all the tables that are basically remaining, and I didn't even realize that a table like not Weird Science. That's what it wants to be. Strange Science.
Strange Science. Yeah.
It's not a System 11. It's a Bally some number machine. But it came out at the System 11 era. It looks a lot like a System 11, but
it's got like long strip alphanumeric displays in it,
right? Just like Elvira and the Party Monsters,
Dr. Dude, and Dr. Dude, yeah, all those.
But it's not the same system as those. And so there's this whole subset of Bally machines that wouldn't fall under that, but they would still be they're still alphanumerics. So we can't just think of alphanumerics as strictly System 11. There's still alphanumerics out there, and now whether those tables are worthy of getting made, that's a whole other question to be thrown in. But I do think that once you get out of the alphanumerics and you start getting to just the straight numerics, there's going to be few and far between tables that Zen wants to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's look at let's take, for example, Space Shuttle. Look, it has a multi-ball, which is good. They would be able to enhance the multi-ball power up. It's got pop bumpers, so you could do the pop bumper power up. It does have a skill shot, yes. So that would
no.
Oh no, it doesn't have a skill shot on plunge.
No.
So again, that's one that had to strike off. What are the other two that I always forget? Oh no, distance bonus is fine. That's common across all pinballs. And there's one more. That one's probably not a bad example.
Pop bumper.
But already said that.
So pop bumper, skill shot, distance. There is, I know there's 6 in total, right?
I know. Yes, I just can't remember. But so that one's actually out of all the System 11 style games, that's a good example of one that would come across okay. But what about Gorga?
Yeah.
It's got pop bumpers. It'd be fine. It does not have a multi-ball, so you have to strike that one off.
Again, you start dealing with what TPA was doing, which was, well, we're putting this in because it was historical.
We're preserving pinball.
But
Zen's not doing that.
Zen's not doing that.
That's not their mission. That's not the mission. They want to create a great ecosystem of pinball games that bring players back to the platform time and time again.
And so again, in that thread, I think I brought up basically, yes, do 8-Ball Deluxe, do Centaur, you could do Firepower, but is it really necessary? It's kind of straightforward.
It's historically significant, but it's not
for
really
being
that
first
fun
multi-ball, but it's not that great.
No, it's not really that fun. And it'll only be good. The only way you do it is if you put in the prototype style and put the drop targets in. Then it might make it a little bit different, but not different enough to actually warrant its inclusion.
Or you can do somebody did a ROM alteration on it when they went to 7-digit display instead of the 6-digit display, and reprogrammed the ROM so that you could have there's a skill shot and
wall save,
and some of the shots kind of wind up being varied. It makes the game more fun, but I don't think Zen's gonna do any alterations to the ROMs.
Pretty sure they said they're not going to do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're
not going to do rule changes.
Yeah, not rule changes. No.
So I mean, when you honestly start thinking about it, there's not that. I mean, are they going to do Xenon?
Probably, I don't know. Like these are all good questions to ask, and like they're only worth asking if you step back as a fan and go, right, let's look at this within the framework of what Zen is trying to do, and be honest. Put your opinions aside and actually go, well, really, it's probably not really. It's fun game to play, but is it commercially viable for Zen? And the answer is, in most cases, probably a maybe or no.
We have an answer to one of our other things that power up. Thank you, James. Another power up is combo time.
Oh, combo time. Yeah. Well, no. on
Space Shuttle doesn't have any combos.
No, it really doesn't. Most System 11s don't actually have any combos, really. It's only when they come into the late WPC games like
I know Funhouse for sure did, but did Whirlwind have a combo? It had
loop combos.
It had loop combos.
Yeah.
But it didn't have pattern of shoot through the pop bumpers, then shoot up the ramp, the middle ramp, and then shoot up the far ramp.
It probably still count though. From the rules perspective in Zen, that would actually probably count as a loop combo.
Maybe
you could do your combos in that, but again, it's limited, right? So But I think it's fair to assume that those late System 11s that came in just before DMDs were introduced, like all pinball machine tables, like era-based pinball machine tables, when they get towards the end of the technology that's used in that particular system revision, the tables that are usually coming out are generally the most refined because they've learned all the hard lessons they've had to with the architecture, and they can actually apply that to the game designs to not only make the game flow well, but also the features in it work the best they can. You know, we saw that in the later, like some of the best games released for Bally Williams in the dot matrix era came towards the end of the cycle because they learned all their hard lessons, like, you know, Medieval Madness and all those sort of tables were just absolute crackers. So, you know, I think those tables would be probably, that could actually be a way that they do it. Like, look at the later end of the era and then go back from the last release to the first release, because that's where you're going to find the more refined tables, arguably. So it'll be interesting to see if that's kind of.
I just brought this up. I'm gonna give you a quick run through. System 4 tables: Pokerino, Phoenix, Flash, Stellar Wars. Of those, maybe Flash would get done. Maybe. System 6: Triazone, Time Warp, Gorgar, Laserball, Firepower, Blackout, Scorpion, Algar, Alien Poker. Again, are any of those? I mean, other than, I mean, you kind of got to go TPA, cherry pick the two out of that you'd want. You know, maybe you'd want Blackout, maybe you'd want Alien Poker, but the other ones are kind of like, can you visually picture them in your head? No.
Well, I've never played those other ones at all.
Yeah, I've played Alien Poker and I've played Blackout.
I've played Alien Poker as well, and
Blackout is a table that only works if you're in a dark environment pinball arcade, because that's the whole point. It blacks out the table. System 11,
it's its feature.
System 11: Black Knight, Jungle Lord, Pharaoh, Solar Fire, Barracuda, Cosmic Gunfight, Varkon, Warlock, Defender, Time Fantasy, Joust, Firepower 2, Laser Cube, Starlight. I mean,
well, there's some notable emissions from there. So you're saying that's System 11?
That's System 7.
That's System 7. Okay.
And then you go System 9, Space Shuttle, Sorcerer, Comet. And then there's all the Bally machines. This is what cracks me up, man. Bally, between 1978 and 1982, cranked out some tables.
Yeah.
Baby Pac-Man, Blackjack, BMX, Centaur, Centennial, Destroyer, Dolly Parton, 8-Ball Deluxe, Electra, Embryon, Evil Knievel, Fathom, Fireball 2, Flash Gordon, Frontier, Future Spa, Galaxy Ranger, Harlem Globetrotters, Hot Dog and Kiss, La Vie Parisienne, Lost World, Matahari, Medusa, Miss America 81, Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, Mystic, Nitro Ground Shaker, Outer Space, Paragon, Playboy, Power Play, Rolling Stone, Silverball Mania, Skateball, Space Invaders, Sparks, Speakeasy, Spectrum, Star Trek, Strikes and Spares, Supersonic, Takiti, The $6 Million Man, Tornado, Vector, Volton Escapes, Cosmic Doom, Xenon, Beat the Clock, 8-Ball Champ, and Lady Luck.
Far out. Jeez. That is incredible.
Isn't that insane? I mean, they were just like cranking them.
Oh, so over 3 years, that sounded to me.
No, that was a 5-year. That was a 5-year run.
That sounds like about 40 tables. So, is that like 8 tables a year on average? 5 8s of 40, if my math serves me correct. That's a ridiculous. You put that in today's perspective. Like, Stern are doing 3, I think, normally 3 or maybe 4. So it's double what the modern production runs are on pinball. Far out. That is quite impressive.
Yeah. And then if you go to the System 11s, I'll just read off the ones that have not been done digitally.
Yeah, okay.
Bad Cats, Big Guns, Bugs Bunny, Fire, Game Show, Grand Lizard, Harley Davidson, Jokers, Millionaire, Mouse and Round, Police Force, Pool Sharks, Radical, Riverboat Gambler, Road Kings, Roller Games, Space Station, Transporter. And then there's these Bally ones, which are Atlantis, Black Belt, Blackwater 100, City Slicker, Dungeons and Dragons, Escape from the Lost World, Hard Body, Heavy Meta Meltdown, Motordome, Party Animal, Special Force, Strange Stunts, and Truck Stop.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, and I can see there's a lot that I can definitely see being put in, but don't do Bugs Bunny.
No,
they're probably not going to do Transporter. I doubt that they would do Space Station. If you do Space Shuttle, there's almost no point to Space Station. And I think
probably. I mean, Space Station. Yeah, true. If you do, because Transporter, you're talking about Transporter the Mission.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting table. That one. Like,
I'm not saying it's not interesting. I'm just saying most people
wouldn't put a double up. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, true.
I don't know. It'll be interesting, but again, if you just go through that whole list of alphanumerics, it's going to be a long time before Zen gets to the regular numerics.
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff they can pick from there, and of the numerics that you mentioned, there's only a few really that I'm even aware of. Number one, and that would actually warrant inclusion. And
the only cool thing about some of those is Bally was doing some just bonkers table layouts during in those, which would be kind of fun to have. But that's gonna be a hard sell for Zen.
Yeah, because again, it's not about historical significance or uniqueness. It's about fun. So does it pass a fun test? If no, then pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go, folks. Just a little last minute wee to the podcast here.
Exactly. Well, I've got one last postscript.
Well, hold on. Before you go there.
Yes.
Folks, make sure you check us out on the socials. Why don't you go ahead and just favorite at BlahCade on Twitter. I know you may not like Twitter, but too bad. Get on it. And while you're at it, then go ahead and at Shut Your Traps and at Jared Morgs. Be sure to send us an email if you have any questions that you would like addressed during the show. BlahCade@gmail.com. For God's sakes, go visit our website, BlahCadePinball.com/episodes. And if you haven't done so already, and I know you haven't, go buy yourself a t-shirt at redbubble.com. Just search for BlahCade. Okay.
I'm wearing one right now. Just to let you know.
Ta-da!
It's a green BlahCade circle. There you go. It's very nice. So I have got a new toy.
Okay.
This week I got a company that is in Western Australia. It's called MetaBox, and they produce gaming laptops. So I've got one. It's an Alpha. If you want to look it up online to see it, it's an Alpha X model, and it's basically it's a core. It's an i7 octa-core with a NVIDIA RTX 2060 in it, and it's also got the advantage of you can basically just fully customize it. They build them to order basically. And this one I've opted for a 144 hertz screen on it as well. And I'll say this, that things are running pretty good. And also a big shout out to the folks that are on the Pinball FX3 forum, because I was seeing some really weird, like very strange performance issues when I first started up Pinball FX3 that really shouldn't be happening when I was with a spec like I had with this laptop, and they were able to help me out, saying that you want to, in particular, turn off VSync in FX3 and let NVIDIA handle VSync, because it does it much better in its actual architecture. So turn off VSync and let the NVIDIA control panel settings manage that. The thing that I didn't even think to do that, because on the Surface Book 2, the parameters, like when you go, those who use NVIDIA, which I would imagine are a lot of you go into the control panel, you actually physically select a game to profile, and then below the game that you select, you have all the options that you can actually use defaults or tweak them. And on the Surface Book 2, because of the way they did the architecture, you had the control panel, but you didn't really have a lot of tweaking options. Like, they didn't actually have that panel. It was just add the game and there you go, and have a nice day. So yeah, it was like I had no idea where to look. But yeah, they really helped me. The folks on the Steam community really helped me out. So thanks again for that. It's running really nicely now. It's super smooth. And I'll say that it has made playing games like Demon's Tilt so much better compared to what it was like on the Service Book 2. Like I've got this thing like cranked to the max with all the effects on, and it is just butter smooth. It is.
See, now you could probably also play Wicked Pinball. And
I've got that installed. I'm going to put it onto ridiculous mode and see what it's like. And interestingly, too, a little shout out for the guys at Demon's Tilt. They released an update after E3 the other day, which has added a ton of stuff to it.
Oh, I'll have to check it out again.
Yeah, it's really nice. Just there were some gameplay bugs that they've smoothed out, and they've also got things like a countdown restart after you exit the pause menu now. Just like those little quality of life things that just make the game a little bit more playable. One thing I did notice though when I booted up the game for the first time on a brand new computer, because they've got they don't actually have the little resolution and quality setting box outside of the app before you start. They've actually integrated that into the menu like a lot of games are doing now. And that caused some very strange things to happen when you first ran the game. I thought, like, it looks like a corrupted display. The menu selector things, the actual overlay part of the display is all there. So you can still select the buttons, select your resolution, select your quality. But the default, which is, of course, very correct that they did this. They've set everything to the lowest possible and the lowest resolution and everything low, just in case you don't have a spec computer that can handle it. And it looks really, really confusing unless you can work your way through it and go, oh, okay, I can just click these buttons and it'll work. So that was probably something, because they just released it, they probably hadn't thought of people who were new to the game reinstalling it. They probably would have thought existing people won't have this problem because it'll already be installed. It'll just be in the menu now. So yeah, that was a bit of an edge case that I discussed. I should probably actually tell them. But yeah, that was it. But it's really fun to play now. They've done a lot of nice balancing in it, and I've been getting some pretty high scores. Not Billionaires Club scores, but 200 something million in it. So I'm pretty happy with that. And the kids love the soundtrack. They were like, can you play Demon's Tilt and can I listen to it through the headphones? My daughter's love that, like that. She loves it. She thinks it's great. So yeah, it's actually being played a little bit more than Zen at the moment, strangely enough. So
yeah, we all go through our phases.
We do indeed. Yes.
Kind of like how I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn currently on the PS4, rather than playing Pinball. So there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to skedaddle, and we'll be back with more news next week. Obviously, I'll be able to play the new iOS version of Pinball, so I'll be able to fully report on that and more. So Until then, folks, we appreciate you watching and listening, and bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.